Hello, friends and family. I promised some of you that I would give you a tour of my show Unchained Melodies. So let's take a look at some of the pieces. This is all based on the connection between music and memory, how a piece of music can take you immediately back to a special time or place or event. I grew up in the 1960s and 70s, and the centennial was a big deal. We all us kids at school learned the song Canada by Bobby Jimby at that time. And I have this great memory of riding in my older brother's sports car, going to school, the last day of school. We went into the assembly and all sang this song. And I was just a pretty oblivious kid, you know, everything was sunshine and roses for me. And I had no understanding that my reality wasn't everybody's reality. So this piece, I wanted it to look really kitschy, like a souvenir you might buy at the time. But I also wanted to include the famous speech, or at least some of the text from the famous speech by Chief Dan George, A Lament for Confederation. Early one morning, of course, this is a nod to The Friendly Giant. These boots are made for walking, based on Nancy Sinatra's song, and I have a really strong memory of her appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show in black boots, and the dancers around her all had very colorful boots and colorful outfits. I thought she was very cool. Where Have All the Flowers Gone, based on Pete Seeger's song, probably the first anti-war song I ever heard. I doubt that I understood the song at the time, but I do remember feeling very sad every time I heard it. Stairway to Heaven, based on the Led Zeppelin song. This was my grade 12 prom theme, so I felt I had to include it. These shoes, or the wings, by the way, are made out of a pair of shiny shoes that I found at a thrift store. Puppy Love. I was one of those people who had posters of Donny Osmond and David Cassidy plastered all over my bedroom wall. And this is based on Donny's version of Puppy Love. I played classical music as a kid, both on piano and clarinet, and I always loved music that had something to do with the supernatural, witches, warlocks, fairies, gnomes, trolls. So this one is from The Witch's Sabbath, from Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique. And this one from The Mountain King, Grieg's Peer Gynt Suite. These two pieces go together. The music, Neil Young's Sugar Mountain and House at Pool Corner by Kenny Loggins, both spoke to me as I was getting ready to leave home and move to Toronto to go to university. I couldn't wait to get away, but I also knew that things were never going to be the same. You can't go back. By the way, I'm just going to move this to the beginning again. I do have records for most of the pieces. And so you're listening to Unchained Melody, which is the title cut, so to speak, of this show. This song was always played before the movies at the drive-in theater in Cambridge, Nova Scotia. And because of that, I strongly associate it with my childhood summers. The song was written for the 1955 movie Unchained. A man by the name of Steve, he's in prison. He's struggling with whether to serve his full sentence and to return legitimately to his wife and family, or to escape and end up on the run. So it's a very beautiful film and very sad song. This is based on the Rocky Horror Picture Show film. I had a lot of fun making those lips. When I moved to Toronto, I discovered a British band called Roxy Music, and one of my favorite pieces was this one, In Every Dream Home a Heartache. Excuse me. It's about someone who has all the money that you could ever want, but is still lonely and ends up buying a blow-up doll as a companion. And I've taken this a bit further by exploring a very wrecked house, and the blow-up doll has been mostly deflated. So not even the blow-up doll could save this person. Birds of a Feather, based on Carol Pope's song of the same name. I loved Carol Pope, still do. And these three pieces are based on songs from the Genesis album, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Lily White Lilith, The Grand Parade of Lifeless Packaging, and The Colony of Slippermen. Tom Waits, I adore Tom Waits. This one is called Christmas Card from a Hooker in Minneapolis, and such a really touching song. I encourage you to seek out the lyrics. And this one, The Piano Has Been Drinking. Ground Control to Major Tom, which is a nod not only to David Bowie, but also to Chris Hadfield, who played his guitar in space. Put a Straw Under Baby. This one's hard to see. The lighting is not great, but this is based on an Eno song, and even though I didn't know this song until I moved to Toronto, when I did hear it, I immediately thought of the Ideal maternity home that operated not too far from where I grew up in the 1920s and 30s and into the 40s. And the home was a source of an illegal baby trade business. Childless couples would pay thousands of dollars for babies born to unwed or poor mothers. And the so-called unmarketable babies were left to starve to death, and then they were buried in small wooden grocery boxes known as butter boxes. So that's what this symbolizes. And The Hapless Child, based on Edward Gorey's words and Michael Mantler's music, a very depressing piece of music. Edward Gorey's words are so deliciously dark. I just love his stuff. So this is poor Charlotte Sophia, who's had everything thrown at her. Anyway, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe it brought back some memories for you. Thanks for watching.